Ladies, if you haven't already signed up for our She Is Women's Conference happening on January 31st, I highly recommend you go to the description on this video and make sure that you click the link and sign up for some tickets for you and a friend. This is one night of just incredible worship, amazing teaching, really great community, and just a chance to meet other women who are in a similar place of life as you. So don't forget, do that now before it's too late. You still have some time. So again, link in the description. I have Karen back with me this week. Thank you again for joining me.
My pleasure. Thank you, Keela.
All right, let's get into some things a little deeper this time. Last week, we were a little high level on some of the identity women stuff. I want to specifically talk to you about friendships and female friendships and the value of them, community, all the things that come with being a part of the church. I know that you have said that your friend group is like pivotal for your life.
Absolutely.
Tell me a little bit about your friend group.
I would say I have, and I keep expanding it. I like people, so I kind of collecting female friends. Um, I would say I started out kind of with a group of women friends, not really a small group in church, but kind of a group of us that would get together, went to the same church, pre-Flatirons, and you start to have kids. Your life's kind of in the same place, and you begin to rely on each other. And 23, however many years later, you've done a lot of life together. You've walked through the good stuff. You've cried a lot. You've spent holidays together. Um, the group has kind of expanded a little bit as we've all gotten to know more people, but it becomes your lifeline, really. Or the group is kind of a thing, and then there's the individual people that are all different relationships, but they're the people that this is probably a terrible thing to say, but you've heard it. If you need to bury a body at 2 a.m., who are you going to call? So I have like 23 of those people that I could call that would do that for me.
Don't mess with Karen.
Right. um, we would just call that a cocktail party. But no, seriously, it becomes the thing it's so calming and it's so reassuring, because whatever happens, it takes a moment maybe while it's really awful or scary or even exciting, but I know immediately who to bring into that with me, whatever it is, whatever I need. So those kind of relationships really are, it's like breathing. It's like what you need to get through life.
Okay, so I'm in my 30s now, and I have always struggled to really find a group of, especially women, that I feel like I can trust. This is from my own trauma. If you don't know about my trauma, go back to last week's and listen to me talk about girls being mean to me. And so I've always really struggled with developing some deep friendships with other women. And I don't think I'm alone, just hearing and reading the headlines of how communities are dwindling at neck breaking paces, I think is what they say. What's your advice?
I hear that a lot. And being in ministry for a long time, I have heard that a ton over the years. Women that say, I don't want to go to a women's thing. I don't want to do a women's thing. I don't want to be in a group. And the sad part is that most of the time it's because whatever their story is, it involves betrayal or the mean girl story, similar to like what you talked about. I think you're gonna develop some relationships on a very shallow level that you're gonna realize quickly it's not gonna work. There's not enough trust there. And it takes a while. It doesn't happen quickly. My advice is don't give up. But the other thing I think that we all have to think about is when you're going, I want to develop those kind of relationships. I want to have those kind of friends. Really what you have to think about at the beginning is you've got to be that kind of a friend first.
Wow.
Am I completely trustworthy? Am I willing to tell people stuff that might make me vulnerable?
Mm-hmm.
Am I willing to take the risk? and deal with whatever comes out of it, because sometimes it doesn't go well.
Mhm.
That's just normal. Um, but my advice to young women would be figure out how you be that person that you would like to have in your life, and those relationships will come to you more than you think,
Yeah.
because everybody's looking for that.
Wow.
Everybody needs that.
I want to dive into some of that vulnerability stuff. But before we do, I was on Instagram, I don't know, every day for all of my life, last week sometime,
Yeah.
and I saw this reel where this girl was saying, um, everyone says that like it takes a village to raise children or just to do life, it just takes a village. And our villages have gotten a lot smaller
Mhm.
over the course of history. Like community circles have gotten smaller, family
Yeah.
units are different. Um, and she's like, but I think the honest question is like, but do you want to be the village? Like, in order to like
Yeah.
receive the village, you have to be the village and show up for people
Yeah.
in like really inconvenient ways and give back to them. And I was like, dang, that's a word.
That's absolutely it. Are you willing to carry the heavy crap with people?
Mhm.
Because that really is what it is.
What
And
do you
much more fun to let somebody carry your heavy crap,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Yeah.
What do you think? I mean, is there something culturally that has happened where people are just hoping to receive instead of be part of the giving side of things? Or is it just human nature? I don't know.
I don't know if I have a great answer for that. I think, yeah, it's gonna sound like a super churchy church lady answer if I say I do think that culturally things have changed. I think that if you live a life with a belief in something outside yourself, so obviously for you and I, that's God. It's understanding that there's a God and it's personal,
Mhm.
the relationship He wants. If you live your life with sort of that understanding of it's not just about me, you're much more inclined to go into those relationships going, I'll be the person that you need. I'll be the
Mhm.
friend that you need. And I think historically that has been more common. That was the way that people sort of anchored their lives.
Mhm.
I believe in God. I believe there's something more. Therefore, um, there's an unselfish component to my life. Um, this may sound, and I don't mean it to sound judgy at all, but I think we live in a different space and age now,
Mm.
where if everybody lives in a state of I'm going to take care of myself, I just need to make sure I'm okay. I need to make sure I'm going to have enough money. I'm going to survive. Life's going to be good. My family's going to be okay. Um, that cuts you off from those kind of connections and the willingness to jump in and be a part of a village. You
Yeah.
know, you get in protective mode when you live like that too.
Yeah.
So I
Hard
don't
to
know.
be
I don't know if that's
vulnerable.
true. That's just my gut instinct.
Yeah. With your friend group, where did it start? How did you meet these women, and how did
Yeah.
you start to realize like, oh, these are my people, or I want to be a village for them? What was
Yeah.
that like?
It's not very deep and it's probably not the right way to go about it, but I'm just going to tell you what the actual story was for me. I'm a sucker for fun. If there's a room full of people and it's a party or there's an event and something's happening or we're going to play games, I love. So it's probably my earliest friend group of those that are still part of my posse now. Um, Started at a new church. Um, and wanted to serve, wanted to get involved. So found a ministry where I could serve. It was all women that were a part of this, and um, they were fun. That was for me. That was a big key. So you naturally have an affinity, personality wise, with some people. Not every single person that you're ever going to serve with, or be in a class with, or be in a group with, is going to be your buddy forever. Um, but I just sort of picked out the ones that I liked, and we began to do social stuff and have a good time. And then it's a pretty quick step to, hey, my kid's sick,
Mm.
my baby's sick. Here's what's going on. Have you ever seen that? Can you help me with that? And that really is kind of how it all for me developed, because I was a young mom And so you desperately want somebody that you can say your thing to, and they can go, you should go to the emergency room, or that's nothing, you're going to be fine. Put them in the bathtub and give them a warm bath.
Yeah.
Um, and that's, I mean, it sounds silly because it's not survival, but in that moment it is. So those become your people. The
Yeah.
more you, I mean, we hear it all the time at church. You're living life with people, and it evolved into, I will never not have these people in my life for me.
Yeah. Gosh, that's so good. And I think that there's like that vulnerability piece that you've the open door to even like stepping into some
Yeah.
of the vulnerability is that asking for advice or letting people just a little bit in
Yeah.
like what's going on behind the
Yeah.
scenes. Like my kid is sick and I'm not sure what to do.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, tell me about your own journey with like stepping into a little bit more vulnerability with friends, with community, the benefits,
Yeah.
the drawbacks.
I think I don't think I'm naturally the person that goes, I'll just dump everything I got and I trust you from the get-go. Relationships take time. I mean, everybody knows that. Um, but I think that's why when you asked the question and I was like, well, so we started like people you like, you do fun things and you go to parties and you play games. That's the testing the water, right? You're dipping your toes in. And at the same time, whether you realize it or not, subconsciously, you're checking for trust. You're checking for, um, do I feel like they're honest? Do I feel like they're real? Um, do I and once one of you opens up a little bit, nobody's going to be vulnerable with somebody who's never ever told them anything personal about
Right.
themselves. That's your clue, right? It's like, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. But all of that takes time. So patience, um, and being willing to initiate. Sometimes I'm not really good at that, but knowing that, I had somebody at one point tell me as I was getting to know this one woman that I thought was really fun. They're like, you just need to call her and set up a play date.
Hmm.
I'm like, yep, that is what I need to do. So, and that's not me telling her the worst thing that's ever happened to me, but it is vulnerability,
Mhm.
reaching out and saying, it's like asking somebody on a date, right? It's
Mhm.
worse, but you're going, hey, would you want to get together for lunch with me? Would you want to have coffee maybe? If you don't want to do coffee or lunch, maybe we just like go for a walk. It's that thing.
Mhm.
But that's vulnerability, right? Is going, I'm offering you something of myself.
Yeah.
How's that gonna go? Are we gonna be okay?
Yeah. I know, Karen, it's tough.
I know.
Especially in today's world, whether it's like technology. I'm like, man, if I didn't know something, I think I'd just Google it or ask AI. I'm like, how is my kid gonna be okay?
Yep.
How long till the food poisoning goes
Yep.
away? I don't know.
I don't actually know the answer to that either. I'm like,
3 to 5
I don't
business
think we ever did food poisoning. I'm not sure. Um, the thing that I think is you're right, and that's partly. Don't you think that's why we are where we are right now to some degree is we don't need as much
Yeah.
help in the real sense of just practical. What do I need? I need an answer about my kids.
Yeah, or I can
We
get
can
it
find that.
without
Yeah.
the risk of relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't and you're in your core though, don't you know that without deep relationship, something is missing for you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, and I think that, it just feels safer.
Yeah.
Google is really safe, there's no
Yeah.
judgment, you know? Judgment is
Yeah.
so scary, especially I have found from female voices,
Yeah.
way scarier than my male friends.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm like,
I agree.
what do you know?"
I agree
I didn't know.
100%. Women can be your greatest asset in your life, and they can slice and dice you until, you can't stand up anymore too.
Mhm. Yeah, I remember, earlier this summer, I was reading a book by Brené Brown, and she was talking about, like it's called Atlas of the Heart, and it's basically a definition of it's like a dictionary of emotions, essentially. And she gets to this one chapter where she talks about, like, the emotions we experience when we open our heart, and in the list, it was, like, love, trust, heartbreak, betrayal. all there lumped together, and you can't
Yeah.
have one without the other. You can't have love without the risk of
Yeah.
heartbreak. You can't have trust without the risk of betrayal. And they're almost inevitable. Like,
Yeah.
if you love, your heart will get broken. And if you
Yeah.
trust, you will experience betrayal.
Yeah.
Um, and that was like so eye-opening to me because I'm so fearful of betrayal or getting my heart broken, especially by like women and female friendships. So I just find that super interesting that they're all like lumped together.
Yeah. It it is interesting. I had a moment, this is years ago, where I don't like being sad. I'll try to avoid all the sad things, all the painful things if I can. Um, but I had a moment where I was thinking about, I don't even remember what I was so happy about. It might have been like the birth of one of my kids. But the one of those moments where you're like, I'm so thankful that God created this kind of absolute pure joy.
Mm,
And I had the thought of, you don't get this without the absolute grief of the loss of somebody too.
mm,
So it's somehow a little bit comforting to me to think of the necessity of both of those things,
yeah.
and that the way that God created us to experience all of that emotionally, um, it's all good because He says it's good.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful that I get to have those things. And sometimes this is just me, but like when I'm eating a really good steak and drinking a glass of wine, I have that moment where I'm like, He did not have to make it this good, and He did, and I'm so thankful for that.
Yeah. It's like
Yeah,
it's the magic of like paradox,
yeah,
essentially.
yeah,
Complex thing.
yeah, and I'm willing to have the other part, because also in the hard parts, that's when I know Jesus in a different way.
Mhm.
So
Mm.
I don't know, kind of works out.
How has your friendships interacted with your faith? Speaking
Yeah,
of Jesus.
yeah. Well, so most of the core of the people that I would say know me the best and that I've known for the longest period of time and that I know the best, most of them are believers. So we share a faith. Um, but everybody goes through periods of, I'm struggling with my faith, I'm mad at God, or stuff that happens that you're like, where is God in this?
Mm,
Um, and those are the people that can hold the faith for you when you've lost yours.
mm.
Not lost it forever,
Just a
but lost
moment.
it for a while. When you've lost the ability to pray because there's just nothing but anger in there, um, they'll hold that for you and they'll pray
Sheesh.
for you. And I know they do that.
Mhm.
And and I've done it for them. I mean, it just, that's why I say it's like life. God created us for that. So it's really hard to do life without it.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of work
Gosh.
to get it. A lot.
Many years.
Yeah.
Lots
Yeah.
of
And
risks.
you just have to wonder sometimes, am I just picking the wrong women to start friendships with? Because there's a lot of hurt and ugly out there too.
Mm-hmm.
But man, don't quit.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I would say, um, with my own experience, especially in the church, I have always struggled with women. I think specifically in the church where there's this like pressure to perform or be perceived a certain way. I know we talked a little bit about perceptions last episode. Um, and so there's this like perfection
Yeah.
illusion that I feel like women in the church really feel the pressure um, to like do really well.
Yeah.
And it makes building friendships and vulnerability pretty difficult, or at least that's been my
Yeah.
experience. What would be, if you have advice for women looking for community, but really kind of fearful or tired of the perfection mask game?
Yeah. This is gonna sound like I'm hyper spiritualizing it because I don't have a good answer.
Okay.
I promise that's not why this is the answer. But I think too that we forget sometimes um, to ask God for what we want,
Mm,
for what we need. So I encourage all women, but young women especially, start praying for the friendships that you need that you don't have, because God designed us for that. That's what He wants for us. So pray for the women to come to you that you can build relationships with. And then I think I go back to as a Christian woman who our goal is always walking with Jesus. How is Jesus making me more like him? How am I following closer? Um, in the tentative relationships in the beginning of building those and the ones that where you get hurt brutally, um, you can only be responsible for what you do in those, how you interact with those women, how you handle the hurt and the betrayal, and what your part is in that. Lean into, where am I with Jesus in this? What am I supposed to learn from this?
Mm,
How can I maybe even still impact this person's life in some way
mm,
through God and me? It sounds, but I think that's real because learning something coming out of something awful like that is still a win,
mhm,
and God can impact other women, people that have betrayed, places where there's brokenness in ways that we can't. And ultimately, you kind of have to give that to Him anyway.
mhm. So good, Karen. Okay, I'm going to call out an elephant in the room.
Uh-oh.
We work for Flatirons Church. Sometimes Flatirons is nicknamed the Man Church. And just recently, we've launched a women's conference. There's one coming up January 31st. It's called She Is.
Yep.
Um, it's in its second year, so it's
Yes.
baby, infancy.
Yes.
We just hired a women's pastor for the first time since I don't know when.
Yep.
Um, and I think that I do believe there's a hunger of the women who attend and are a part of our community and our church to find community and to belong. But Flatirons hasn't done a lot in the direction of women, or I think that's a perception of the
Yeah.
church. So where are we headed? What do you see? And if there's any kind of encouragement for women who are like, I don't know what Flatirons offers,
Yeah.
and I don't know, like we're kind of stepping into new territory or new for the first time in a long time. What's the way forward for them?
Well, I can't speak to specifics because I'm not working on the details of that. I know that our new women's pastor, Corey, is uh, I know her heart and what she wants it to be, so I can comment on the fact that I'm excited for all of us as women for what's coming. Um, I would say this. Once you say the phrase, "We're a church for men," and that's not actually how I would categorize us.
Me either.
I would say we are a church that cares deeply for the hearts of men and wants to call men who have somehow been have felt like the gospel's not for them, Jesus isn't for them, the church isn't for them. We want to make it clear that that's not true, and we want to call them back to that role in church, that faith if they don't have faith or whatever. But as soon as you say that, then the perception is it's not for me, and that's just not true. I talk all the time about the fact that what's written in God's word, what the plan that God had for saving us all, for providing redemption, it's the same, whether you're male or female. It's exactly the same. God's call to us to follow and to become more like Jesus and to learn and to understand who God is so we can understand that's the same, whether you're male or female. We at Flatirons live in the space of going, God's allowed us to be really good at that part, at going, men are welcome here. You don't need to feel like, um, Jesus is wimpy, or that this is just a place where it's just for women and kids and we teach Sunday school lessons. That God has called us into that. All of those men who come, most of them, have wives, they have daughters, they all have mothers.
Mm.
So everything is for everybody. The gospel is for everybody. What Flatirons wants and what Jesus wants is for everybody. That said, we have these very, very pointed, clearly documented things that we're moving forward with for women. And I will say this, and Corey would tell you this as well. I don't want to speak for her, but I believe she would tell you this because we've talked about it. A conference or a group of some sort that's a women's thing, it does not change your life. That's not going to change your life. It's a gateway. It's an entry. It's a call to come and find out how God does change your life and how you can link arms with other women and how you can walk a path that will make everything different. And I do mean everything.
Karen, say that one more time for the people in the back.
It's anything you go through for women, it's your starting point to find the women you can lock arms with and start to walk a path that actually will change your life if you do it.
So good. I think it's such a good reminder that like a conference or a women's event isn't like the thing that's going to ultimately change your life.
Yeah.
It's a catalyst, a gateway, as Corey would say. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's a rally cry for God's got this great stuff. Come let us show you how to get involved in that.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Karen, thank you so much for spending more time with me on our second episode. I've really enjoyed just getting to chat with you about friendships and community and just soak up your wisdom.
Okay. It's been great. I truly have enjoyed it. I love talking to other women, especially about stuff that actually matters. So thank you for that.
Yeah, of course. Well, hopefully we can do this more.
Okay.
I know that this is kind of a new thing. And so if you're watching and this was helpful or you enjoyed it and you want to see more from women here at Flatirons, let us know in the comments. We'd love your feedback. We do want to have real conversations about real stuff that women are walking through. That's really important to everyone here at Flatirons and our women's ministry and Corey and Karen and a bunch of us here on staff. Want to invite you one more time to the She Is conference coming up on January 31st. It is going to be a party. It is going to be a catalyst. And hopefully we can find some new friendships and develop some good community coming out of something like that.
Next steps for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, we hope we can see you at the She Is conference coming up. It's been great and we'll see you later.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.